What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Bridging the Geekdoms. I'm your host, Robert Slavinsky, and today on the show, we're going to cover a plethora of topics, but mainly we're going to discuss 2021's superhero comic book films, and I'm going to give my rankings of them by the end of the show. So that's what we got. That's what we have to look forward to. But let's get started here because today, a little something dropped that I don't think anybody was really expecting. I know that planning out the show, I had no expectations or idea that this was going to happen, that this was going to drop. So I kind of want to do a quick little watch and kind of reaction of the Batman trailer that dropped today. So let's take a watch.
Bruce Wayne.
Sorry?
I wouldn't be bothering you here, but your people keep telling me you're unavailable. You know, you really could be doing more for this city. Your family has a history of philanthropy, but as far as I can tell, you're not doing anything.
The Riddler is asking for you.
The killer left this for the Batman. Why is he writing to you?
You came. I've been trying to reach you.
Riddler's latest. It's all about the Waynes. If we don't stand up, no one will.
You got a lot of cats.
I have a thing about strays. The bat and the cat. It's got a nice ring.
A new friend of yours?
I'm not so sure. I'm just here to unmask the truth about this cesspool we call a city. You're part of this too. Stay still! How am I part of this? Oh, you're really not as smart as I thought you were. Bruce Wayne. All these years, you lied to me, Alfred. We all have our scars, Bruce.
He's still a Wayne.
He's involved in this? Oh, he's not involved.
How do you know? He's a vigilante.
Who are you under there? What are you hiding?
Selena, don't throw your life away.
Don't worry, honey. I got 9 of them.
It can be cruel, poetic, or blind. But when it's denied, it's in violence you may find.
Justice. The answer's justice.
Come on, vengeance. Let's get into some trouble.
All right. Well, that is probably the first trailer that's gotten me excited for this film. I'm not saying that I haven't been excited, or honestly, I really haven't been. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to sit there and say, well, you're not excited about this because of it's not Batfleck, and that's what you want. And that's not true. I'm a huge Batman fan. I will take all the Batman content that I can get. But there was just something about this movie that just wasn't really I don't know if it just wasn't really doing it for me in the promotions leading up to what we've gotten so far. But this is the first trailer, I think, which is the Batman trailer. I think this is the first trailer that I'm kind of excited to see what this movie is going to be and where it's going to go. Again, I'll take all the Batman content I can get. And March 4th can't come soon enough because between now and then, we really don't have much of anything besides Morbius. And yeah, that's another thing there. But we're not going to talk about that. But let me know down in the comments below or in the comments on the side what you think of the Batman trailer that just dropped today. Again, I really enjoyed the trailer. I think over the next week I might try and find time to do another video where I kind of break down what I see in that trailer, what I think is going to be happening, and where I think this franchise, this new Batman franchise, can go. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think down below. Now, the one thing that I know that I've been doing over the last few weeks here, I've been discussing Hawkeye every episode, every single week. I've been discussing what's going on with the episodes, and this has been one of my favorite, if not my favorite show in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that's come on Disney Plus. It was shocking to me how many people just looked at it negatively, like it was the redheaded stepchild of the MCU, and it just baffled me, and it still right now boggles my mind why people haven't really enjoyed this show to this point. But I'm going to kind of talk about the final episode 6. I'm going to talk about that a little bit here, because the one thing that the MCU shows haven't been able to do is really give us a great finale for their seasons. Loki did a really good job. I really liked Loki's final episode. However, I still was kind of just left a little, I wanted a little bit more from Loki. This here, though, I mean, it is nonstop, fast paced right from the get go. It just goes and goes and goes. I think there are some moments in this episode that I really did not enjoy or really get too excited about, such as the cosplayers coming out and kind of directing people where to go and saving them from the building. I thought that was really ridiculous and unneeded. And then the fact that Eleanor just kept disappearing. It was like, here she is, and she's over here, and here she is, and she's over here. So there were some aspects of it that I didn't enjoy, but overall, I thought the episode was great. I liked the way that it ended, and it's really begging to have more, and I hope they continue with this show and do more with these two characters of Kate Bishop and obviously Clint Barnes, Hawkeye, because I really liked both these characters in this show. And obviously there's still that mystery of the Watch somewhat. I mean, I know we found out who it belonged to, that it was Clint's wife's, and it says Agent 19 on the back. Mockingbird is what a lot of people are saying that she is, which I think would be kind of cool. But I know there's a lot of people that don't want that, because in a way it negates Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, and a lot of people will be upset about that. To me, it doesn't bother me either way, but I am really interested to see what her backstory is now and seeing where she comes from. I just want to see that now. And I hope that if they continue this series, they kind of start to delve into that a little bit. Obviously, Vincent D'onofrio, there we go. Vincent D'onofrio coming back as Kingpin was great. He was a little OP, it seemed, but I understand that it's more comic accurate. It's more accurate to who the character is and how he's been portrayed in the comics and even in cartoons and such. So I was okay with that. I know that they tried to throw everybody off by, does he get shot at the end? Is he going to be back? Is he dead? And we do know that there was an article I read actually, I think today, that they did shoot a post-credit scene with him where he is still alive. Why they took that out and decided to not leave it, they're saying they wanted to keep it a little more lighthearted because it was Christmas time and blah, 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 blah. I get that, whatever. I don't think it would have hurt the lightheartedness that we got at the end of the season here, but I guess it's what they thought. The mid-credit scene with doing a whole musical number from Rogers the Musical, I thought it was funny. I thought it was cool to see, but personally, I think that's something that they probably could have released separately. That's just me. Maybe on like Christmas Day on Disney Plus, they could have surprised everybody like, oh, and here's a piece from Rogers the Musical, and not made that the mid-credit scene. But it is what it is. I really did enjoy the series. It is up there. I mean, that and Loki, Hawkeye and Loki are pretty much right at the top for me. Kind of flip-flops which way each one goes. But let me know in the comments below what you thought of Hawkeye Season 1, Episode 6, the finale. Again, I really, really enjoyed it. I hope a lot of other people did because I'd like to see it continue in some form or fashion. All right. Moving on to the next topic here. This one I actually did a video about last week when this news broke. So I'm not going to focus too much on it today, but I do want to discuss a little bit of what is happening and the madness that ensued from all of this last week was absolutely absurd. So Keaton or Affleck, man, I can't talk. Keaton or Affleck, who is the DCEU's Dark Knight? So that was a question last week. Last week it was announced in a way, not really announced, but it was discovered that Michael Keaton is going to be reprising his role of Bruce Wayne in the upcoming Batgirl movie for HBO Max. And while that is not really shocking to me, it seemed like it was shocking to a lot of other people. And I question why. Why was that so shocking? Because this information has pretty much been known for a while that Keaton would be taking on more of a mentor role within the DCEU moving forward after the Flash movie. Because remember, the Flash movie is reestablishing the DCEU to move forward. And when I say reestablish, what I'm talking about is it's going to be specifically, it's going to introduce or reintroduce characters in a certain way. And there was a possible leak story of what the Flash is going to be. I think it fell on Reddit at the end of the week. Again, something a lot of people got upset about because it's, they're bringing back Zod, Feora. They're bringing a bunch of these characters back and possibly reshaping the past of the DCEU moving forward. That has pretty much been the plan of what this movie was going to be. If you don't, a lot of people don't remember this, and I don't understand why. And I was one of these people because after 2017's Justice League, we had this hope and desire that we would be able to release the Snyder Cut. But beside that, we were hoping to get the Snyder Cut. But over here, what were a lot of people asking? They wanted the Flash movie to be Flashpoint, to reset the timeline, to reset the DCU continuity for something else. Because after 2017's Justice League, it seemed like there was no direction. So we wanted to have some kind of big event, timeline altering film that would kind of reestablish what we would be knowing as the DCEU. We're getting both. I know that a lot of people want to see restore the Snyderverse, and we're going to get into that in a second, but they both can live simultaneously together, and they're going to have to. It's something I've said multiple times. The DCEU main continuity, the proper timeline, is in motion. That what is happening there is going to happen, regardless of whether the Snyderverse is restored or not. Everything that's going to happen in the DCU main timeline is going to happen. It's planned. They have years planned at this point in time. So you can get on board or you don't have to. That's your decision to make. You don't have to be excited about it. You don't have to want to see it, but that's what's happening. Again, they don't need to live one without the other. They can both live simultaneously. The Affleck and Keaton stuff, well, again, it was shocking to me because there's been so much talk about Keaton for the last year and a half, that to me it was pretty much known. Yes, I got excited whenever we heard that J.K. Simmons would be popping up in the Batgirl movie, and I thought, hey, maybe because we know that some scripts have changed, such as The Flash, and we know that Affleck had kind of a he was reinvigorated for the character when he did the additional photography for the Snyder Cut. So I thought, well, maybe they did some rewrites and they're bringing Affleck in as opposed to Keaton. And that's not the case. Keaton will be the Bruce Wayne moving forward, ushering in a new era of the Bat family essentially in Gotham City. And that's what we're going to see with Batgirl and then eventually a Batman Beyond project as well. So be on the lookout for that. But again, that does not mean that Affleck is done as Batman, because Affleck has stated that he would do anything for Zack Snyder. And we know that if Zack came in and said, Ben, I want you, let's go, he would do it in a heartbeat. We also know that Zack is not going to use anybody but Ben Affleck for his Batman, just like he won't use anybody but Cavill for Superman, Godot for Wonder Woman, Momoa for Aquaman, so on and so forth. So if we want the Snyderverse to continue, they're going to have to be those actors. Otherwise, it probably won't continue. But we also know that all those actors respect and are willing to go to the plate for Snyder to continue and complete the Snyderverse arc. So people don't be so upset when news like this comes out. You got to kind of sit back sometimes and just kind of think logically about what is going on. We know that Zaslav is coming in, so that's going to be kind of exciting. And a lot of things are going to change there. It really will. It really will when Zaslav comes in. So I guess we're going to go to the Restore the Snyderverse update, since that's what we're kind of talking about here. So yeah, let's just think. All right, guys. So the Restore the Snyderverse update. I didn't do one last week because I really focused on No Way Home. Not a lot of information has come out since a couple weeks ago in regards to the Snyderverse. However, I do want to touch on a couple things that have been discussed and talked about over the past few days. Now, for those of you who may listen to my show or watch my channel, Sil Abdul over at Sil Abdul Inc., he does a lot of covering of the Snyderverse. He and Mikey Sutton from Geekosity, they talk a lot about the Snyderverse and have been a lot more even lately. And the one thing that they've been discussing a lot of is that, be patient. It's coming. It's going to come. And I believe that. I believe it's going to be coming. I know I'm excited. I know that the big thing that I talk about all the time is, stay passionate, stay excited, and stay united. And that's a big thing. We have to stay united, because that is what helped push the Snyder Cut to new heights and then to eventually get released. So we have to stay united and stay passionate and excited. We should not let our anger and hatred towards anything push us into toxicity and negativity. But they discuss a lot over there, and I do encourage a lot of people to jump over and check them out. Check out his show and hear what they have to say, because they do say a lot of cool things. And the game that they're in, we call it the scoop game, we call it the whatever you want to call it. It is not an easy thing to be part of, and they do talk a lot about the Snyderverse, and some things may be right, some things may be wrong. I know that they were getting bashed pretty hard about the Keaton and Affleck stuff this past week, but hey, you gotta push it aside, because you're never going to be right 100% of the time. Now, one thing they do talk about a lot is Zaslav and how he has a desire to want to continue the Snyderverse. And that's pretty much what I've heard from other people as well, is that that Zaslav is interested in continuing the Snyderverse. Just how is it going to happen? And the one thing you have to remember, and I say this all the time, Zack Snyder himself stated that his Snyder Cut, his arc, is Elseworlds. It is sitting over here. It's an Elseworlds thing. Whereas the DC main timeline, DCEU, that's going to be its own thing. Zaslav looks at it that way. And that's how things are going to happen. That's how things are going to move forward. Zack will be given the keys to the toy chest to open them up and play with them as he sees fit. Just as J.J. Abrams may get, or any other director, filmmaker, writer, whomever, for the main DC timeline. And he's going to give them the opportunity to show the fans what they can do. We already know that Zack Snyder's Justice League was a global phenomenon. It's infinitely better than what came out in 2017, and Zaslav knows that. He knows the impact that Zack has with that. And I wouldn't be shocked or surprised if that little Zack Snyder's Justice League, that Zack Snyder name, I wouldn't be surprised if it was attached to every single DC project he does moving forward, whether it's as director or, executive main producer, which would all be dubbed the Snyderverse. Or that's not dubbed the Snyderverse, but that is what the Snyderverse is going to be. So that's a little bit of an update of what's going on. I think a lot of people are aware of this. I know a lot of people want to continue hearing what's going on, but that's kind of what's going on. Now, what leads me to believing a lot of this? Well, it's funny you should ask, because Christmas Day, first and foremost, Zack posted this on his Vero. And Christmas Batmobile with the green sky, which a lot of people thought that, actually, that may have been before Christmas. I think it was a couple days before Christmas he did that. But many people thought that he would be possibly showing a clip of something Green Lantern specifically. People have been wanting to see the Green Lantern clip on Christmas Day, and we didn't get that. But then today he does this, Deer Valley Resort. And the one thing that you want to point out here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chairs around a fire pit, which a lot of people are taking as the round table, Knights of the Round Table, 7 chairs for more, room for more, as you would say. So you got that. And I can't find it because it dropped right before, a little bit before, after I prepared everything, and this dropped. There's another photo, I can't find it right now, that he dropped that says, while I was looking for the Christmas Batmobile, came across this, and it's a photo of Ben Affleck as Batman standing next to the Batmobile. It looks like it was probably a shot taken in tests, suit tests, whatever it was for Batman vs. Superman. So he has not forgotten the Snyderverse. He has not forgotten DC content. He's not done with it. We know that he wants to continue. It's just how and when is it going to take place? I think that's where a lot of people are not 100% sure. But at this point in time, I'm going to tell you this. It's coming. It's coming. As I say, stay excited, stay passionate, and stay united, because that's what's going to win the day. We don't want to see the toxicity. I don't want to see the toxicity. I'm sick of the toxicity. I've gotten away from that as much as I can on Twitter, because that's probably the worst place to be whenever it comes to any kind of fandom. People just love to be toxic. But that is your Restore the Snyderverse update for this week. Make sure you check in every single week when I do my show, because that's when I'm going to be giving Snyderverse updates. And hopefully, as time goes on, we get more and more information. I know I'm excited and hoping that we do. So make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. And then throw down in the comments, what are your expectations? Do you think the Snyderverse is going to be restored? Do you think it will continue? How do you think it'll be continued? Personally, I think it's going to be mostly on HBO Max, but let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on all of that. All right. Next up, we're going to get into it. Ranking 2021's comic book movies. That's what we're going to kind of do here. I'm just going to discuss. I'm going to go through my rankings. Really, I look at it as there being 7 main comic book movies this year. Yeah, people might say like G.I. Joe is considered a comic book movie. Some say, I think there's like this Thunder Force or something like that was like Melissa McCarthy. No, we're going to go basically stick with the main comic book films of 2021. And we're going to go through them. Now, if you want to throw your list down in the comments, please do so. But I don't want there to be any fighting back and forth. I respect everybody's opinions on film. I respect everyone's thoughts on things. Film is subjective. And that's one thing I think people need to sometimes remember. It's subjective. I may like something more than you like something. You may like something more than I like something. It is what it is. But let's get going here. Let's get started. So, number 7. Number 7. We got Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Now, this movie I was not looking forward to in the slightest this year. The first Venom I thought was basically an atrocity. It was horrendous from every filmmaking standpoint, from story to character development to editing to directing. There was not a single aspect of that first Venom movie that I thought they did well. It just honestly, like, it is almost impossible to sit there and say, oh, this was done well. I had a little bit of hope that this one would improve on that. And I went to the movies and saw this with my sons. And, well, no, it didn't. It didn't improve on it at all. In some ways, it felt like it was worse than the first one. And I don't know how they possibly made it worse, but they did. The Eddie Brock character played by Tom Hardy is a disgrace when it comes to Eddie Brock's character in the comics. As with Venom, they completely took away what made him an interesting character in the comics and what made him such a menacing character in the comics. So we're left with a comedic duo that should not be comedic, with like a multiple personality aspect, which I can understand that, but Eddie Brock just seems like a wimp. He's just a wimp the entire time. And not saying that, because in the comics, he's Eddie Brock is more talk than show. And I get that. But you don't even get that here in this movie. You don't even get his talk. You don't get his cockiness that he has in the comics. And that really ruins the movies for me. And I felt they doubled down on that in this film and just made it really, really bad. And Woody Harrelson, who I'm a big fan of, who originally I was like, hey, that'd be a great Carnage. No, he doesn't work. All I saw was Woody Harrelson being Woody Harrelson, just Woody Harrelson up the entire film when he was on screen. And it just didn't work for me. It was a pretty bad movie. And as I said, after the post-credit scene, when they tried to bring Venom into the MCU, I wanted him as far away from the MCU as possible, because he will do nothing but destroy, in a bad way, that cinematic universe. And luckily they got him out of it faster than they put him into it. So I was happy about that. All right. The next one on my list, Black Widow. If it wasn't for Venom, this would have been my least favorite comic book movie of 2021. But Black Widow, 10 years too late. Maybe not 10 years, maybe like 6 years too late. I'm a huge fan of Scarlett Johansson. I think she is a fantastic actress, and she deserves a lot more credit than she gets for what the MCU is today. But this movie, as I said, was 6 years too late. I'm not a fan of Florence Pugh's Yelena. There's something about her I'm not a big fan of. And even though I'm a huge fan of that Hawkeye series, she was probably the biggest issue I had with that series. I don't know. It didn't do it for me, this movie. I guess I don't know what they were going for. They kind of screwed up Taskmaster. The villains had no real impact on the characters, on the universe, on me, on anything. So that's kind of why it fell so low. And I wish it would have been better than it was. But in a year that these once I get to my top 3, it's easy to forget a lot of the bad, like this and Venom for sure. So yeah, I would like to have seen it be better. It sucks that Scarlett Johansson essentially goes out in a whimper from the MCU, but she paid her dues. She wanted the movie. She got the movie that she wanted to be in. So it is what it is. By no means is it the worst MCU movie, though. That's still that title still belongs to Captain America: Civil War. And yeah, I know I might get some comments about that, but it is what it is. All right, number 5. Now this was surprisingly higher on my list until I started doing my when I sat back and was thinking about my list for the past few days. This at first was kind of high, and because I remember just having a good time watching it, but James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I really did enjoy watching this film. I had fun with it. It wasn't anything thought provoking. It was a mind numbing, popcorn munching action flick. I mean, that's really all it was. But I had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. But when all was said and done, I really got to a point where I like a lot more substance in my films, and this movie just has no substance. It really has no substance at all. So, let me know what you think of the Suicide Squad. Again, there's not much to talk about with it. I mean, it's my number 5 for this year. There's so many people out there who just criticize this film. They want to hate on it because it's not Snyderverse DC. And that just seems like where all this hatred comes from, is if it's not Snyderverse, we have to hate it. And if you don't hate what it's not Snyderverse, then you're not a true Snyder fan. And that just baffles me, because we can like multiple things. I mean, we've been doing it for years, Marvel, DC, and I can't understand. It baffles me. It really does. All right. Number 4 on my list, Eternals. This is a movie that was too long, for one, absolutely. But I really enjoyed the bold direction that the MCU decided to take with this film. Introducing Celestials, introducing the Eternals themselves, just it really gave us something that we haven't seen before in the MCU. And I'm excited to see where it all goes. And I hope that they continue these characters in this story in some form or fashion. But I have to say, like I said, it was a little too long. The story, it needed a better pacing. I'm not sure this is going to be a movie that I watch multiple times. I'm definitely going to watch it a few more times to really get a good feel for it. But this is one that you really have to sit back and you have to sit down. If you're going to watch it, you have to watch it. This isn't one that you can just put on in the background and enjoy like you would with, say, Iron Man or something. So that's just my thoughts. But yeah, I mean, this, again, number 4 on my list for 2021. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. But, I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think. All right. So this next one may get me in trouble. It may get me in trouble because this was such a huge hit and I loved it. I loved this movie, but I just could not put it higher than 3. I tried. I really tried, because these last 3, 2, 1, I put each one of them in first, and kind of just was looking and how it looked in first place and how I felt about it being in first. And this one started off at number 1, and then I started thinking about other films, and then it kind of dropped, and it actually was lower than 3. It kind of dropped to like 6, and then I pulled it back down, and I love this movie a lot, but I think the reason why I had so much trouble with it is because of, is it all nostalgia? Spider-Man No Way Home was a damn good time. I had a blast with this movie. I saw it twice the weekend it came out. And even though I knew a lot of what was going to happen, I mean, I knew months and years ago, well, not years ago, but probably nearly a year ago, I knew essentially what this movie was going and how it was going to play out. I still had a lot of fun with this film. And the more I sit there and think about it, the more I realize that a lot of my fun came from the nostalgia aspect of seeing Alfred Molina, seeing Willem Dafoe, seeing Toby, seeing Andrew, all that kind of stuff is really what drove my excitement level so high. In my review that I did for this, I did, discuss like the great thing about this movie is it stands on its own as a good movie, and it really does. It really does stand on its own as a good movie. But I think good movie on its own, and then my excitement level takes it up even higher. And that's kind of where I was with this. Fantastic film, absolutely. And in my opinion, the Spider-Man trilogy in the MCU is actually the best trilogy in the MCU right now because it had a strong finish. Captain America couldn't do it. Iron Man couldn't do it. Thor couldn't do it. This is the one that had a strong finish, as well as two strong films prior. So great movie. Just these next two, it's just hard to beat. It really is. This next one, Shang Chi. Maybe it was because it was so long since I've watched a good superhero film in the theater. I'm going to make sure I say that in the theater. Because the last superhero film I saw in the theater, was it Spider-Man Far From Home, maybe? Do you count Joker as that? But, I mean, honestly, the last one I saw, this was the first time, Shang-Chi was the first movie I saw in theaters again. First time I was back since COVID. And I was blown away. I saw it twice in the theater. Wanted to see it again, just didn't get around to it. I've watched it a couple times on Disney Plus. This movie is so much fun. There's so much about it that I love. I love the aspect between the father and the son, and how the father really isn't. I mean, yeah, he's a villain, but they made him multidimensional, where he isn't just a villain that's doing villainous things. I mean, he has real motive because of love. And that's something that we don't really see all the time in the MCU when it comes to villains, is like a really good multidimensional villain that's based off of love. And I really, really liked that about this film. This might be up there, probably my top 3 or 4, if not more higher, MCU films. The more I think about it, the more I watch it, I absolutely love this movie. I do. I give them so much credit. I can't wait to see where they take this character and his story moving forward. And to think that, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, who would have thought we'd ever get a Shang-Chi film? And now we got it, and it might be one of the best Marvel movies that we've gotten in that span of time. So it's fantastic. And number 1, finally, which originally wasn't my number 1. It was actually number 3 originally. I kind of flip-flopped this and Spider-Man a couple times. Zack Snyder's Justice League, which I think a big reason why this movie is number 1 is because of the anticipation and of us as a fandom making it a reality, making it happen. It happened because of what we did. But it just is a damn good movie. It is infinitely better than what we got in 2017. And not only that, but it's justification for what Zack Snyder had been doing with Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman. And this, you see that arc and you start to see things and pieces come together that if he is, and if he has the ability to complete his arc, as I said in with my Spider-Man review last week, movies have the ability to make movies that came before them better. Zack Snyder's Justice League makes Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman better. And I have no doubt that what Zack would do after this will not just make Justice League better, but make BVS and Man of Steel even that much better. And that's what this film did. And there's so much behind it. The story on how it was released and everything like that is just so amazing. What the fans were able to accomplish was great. But, we can't take away the fact that it is a damn good movie. Damn good movie. and I literally just watched it yesterday. I turned it on, and I mean, I got sucked in. Like I put it on to have his background as I'm cleaning up from our Christmas shenanigans, and yeah, I got sucked in, and I just was like cleaning, and then I just sat there and just got stuck watching it because it is that good. Yeah, it has some issues. Too much slow motion, absolutely. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of the Wonder Woman music that Junkie XL overused throughout the movie. But besides those two things, there's really nothing about that movie that I don't like. So, but let me know in the comments below what your picks are, your rankings of the comic book films of 2021 are. I want to hear them. I want to see them. Again, keep it civil. I don't want any fighting. I don't want people bashing each other. Film is subjective. It's supposed to be fun. You should love what you're watching and enjoy what you're watching. But yeah, definitely throw down all that stuff down below. And make sure you head to Spoilerverse.com for more from Bridging the Geekdoms, as well as our other shows at Spoilerverse Network, such as Spoiler Country and what else is there? Man, I can't even think right now. Narrative Gunslingers and a whole bunch of others. I can't think of any more right now, but there's a whole bunch over there. I'm sorry. But yes, definitely check out Spoilerverse.com. Find Bridging the Geekdoms on all of your podcatching apps as well. And make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, and leave a comment on what you think of the show. But it's going to be a short show today. Thank you so much for watching or listening. But with all that said, I guess I'll talk at all of you next week. Don't know what the show's going to be about yet. I do want to talk about The Matrix. I did watch The Matrix. I do kind of want to talk about The Matrix. So maybe next week we'll talk about The Matrix and Witcher Season 2. So be on the lookout for that. With all that said, guys, I'll talk at all of you later.